भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Let us chant from the beginning. This is taped, clipped on this side. Yes. It looks like we are in the Middle East, you know.
This is one.
Yeah.
The type.
We are too close to the edge. Yeah.
But there's copies on the cat.
Copies?
Copies, not copy.
Copies.
Copies.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, for them. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Together. Manohidvividham proktam shuddham cha shuddhameva cha ashuddham kama sankalpam shuddham kama vivarjitam mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho बन्धाय विषयासक्तं मुक्तं निर्विषयं स्मृतं यतो निर्विषयस्यास्य मनसो मुक्तिरिष्यते अतो निर्विषयं नित्यं मनः कार्यं मुमुक्षुणा निरस्तविषयासङ्गं सन्निरुद्धं मनोहृदि यदा यात्यात्मनो भावं तदा तत्परमं गतं तावदेव निरोद्धव्यं यावद्धृदि गतं क्षयम् एतज्ज्ञानं च ध्यानं च शेषो न्यायश्च विस्तरः. Yeah, the chanting is sounding very decent. Yeah, all of you are sounding. All the people here, I don't know about the people there, but the people here are sounding like baby pandits. Very nice. Wonderful. I think the chanting class, Prabhava of the chanting class. Oh well. Okay, yeah. So this is the thing, you know. Now, Nirasta Vishaya Sangam, we have seen the meaning, but we just to make sure that we see it properly. Nirasta Vishaya Sangam Sanniruddham Manohridi Yada Yati Atmano Bhavam Tada Tat Paramam Padam Tavadeva Nirodhavyam Yavad Hridi Gatam Kshayam. Yeah. So Nirasta Vishaya Sangam Sanniruddham Manohridi. So Nirasta means that which has gone like the sun. What does the sun do every evening? It sets. So that which has attained attained astam gatam. You know what is that? Vishayani. all the Vishayaha rather, Vishayaha astam gataha. So, meaning all the Vishayas, like the sun, the orb of the sun has set, so too the Vishayas have gone. The Vishayas have departed, or they have set like the sun. It's a beautiful metaphor, because when you talk about departing, you know what happens? It's like a forced leaving, right? Departure means you oust something, and then you know what happens to Vishayas. What are Vishayas? Sense objects. So when you oust them, what happens? They come back through the back door. They jump in through the window. They come in through the chimney. So many ways. Because when you cannot fight with the desires and the pressure they create, so you outgrow them by a conscious process of making the binding desires not binding, by a hyper vigilance and alertness. And like I said, you switch the channel, change the activity. When the desire strikes and it says, I have you by the throat, and I'm going to, juggle, shake you back and forth, and then I'm going to squeeze the life out of you. When it says that, you just do something else. After that, it will go away. So like this, instead of wearing the boxing gloves and fighting with the desires, biff, 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 because it will biff you back, with even more force. Here you just allow it to set on the horizon of your awareness. It is just setting, meaning the horizon is here in this example, it is constant, and the desire, like the sun, rises and sets and rises and sets. And here the desire is not rising and setting, the association with that particular desire. You see, that's the difference. You cannot, get rid of all the desires. Somebody said, I can't study Vedanta until I, get rid of all my desires. They had read a book called Vasana Kshaya. Nonsense. Yeah. Meaning, until all the desires are gone, you cannot study. Oh, what should I do? Twiddle the thumbs, keep going like that. That's it. Because that's, it's a useless thing. Because the desires will never go, correct? Because even if I have a desire, I shouldn't have desires, that's a desire, right? So the desire will never go, and then, the teacher will be very happy because the teacher doesn't have to teach. That's all. So you can't say, until all the desires go, I'm going to just wait to study. Because what's the use of studying? In fact, what the study does is it makes one understand that you're not fighting with the desire, you are simply removing yourself from associating with it. Like toxic people in one's life. Sometimes in life, one is, surrounded by people who are not very good for oneself, whose association is not very good for oneself. No, but isn't it true, in Vedanta, one has to rise above all the toxicity and non-toxicity and have just that ekatma bhava, sarvatma bhava, and everybody is one and I am one with them and they are one with me, What happened to non-duality? It is there. It is waiting for you. How do I go greet it? Have healthy boundaries. How to have healthy boundaries? Don't have association with toxic people, toxic things, and also toxic desires. Same thing. Sometimes those desires get activated in the presence of people. That's what it is. Until that person comes, or until that you sit with that person, you don't think of popcorn. But then as soon as you sit with a person, because that association is there, that is what is called Sangha. Because certain people you sit with and you see movies, and movies means popcorn and butter. So when you see the person, you think of popcorn. And that of course, we are only talking of benign association. You can fill in the blanks, color in all the other horrifying ends of the continuum. But basically, that is what the association is. And sometimes the people in when one is trying to get to a place of getting ready and getting qualified internally to study the Amrtabindu Upanishad, there is enough, inner chatter. And what's the inner chatter? Why this? What am I getting with this? See, even people online, some people dropped out. See, that person used to come, that person is not there, this person used to come. Why I am suffering? So that could be a thought, correct? And so this is while getting ready, these thoughts come. These are called self-hijacking thoughts. Yeah, this is the inner terrorist that Lord Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita. Jahi Shatrum Mahabaho Kamarupam Durasadam. That is how the 3rd chapter closes. Please overcome, Jahi, kill this inner enemy called Kama, desire. And here he doesn't mean kill the desire. He means kill your association with the desire and your association with everything else that keeps bringing out this desire. So, like in the example I was giving was that sometimes with certain people there is not a very good rapport, and not only that, they seem to bring out the worst in oneself. So, until one overcomes and one is able to be one with everything and all is one is all, until then you have to back off a little bit and examine. You have to take some time apart, and in America we know this very well. I need some space. I need some space. You have to take some time apart and think about, what is it that you are doing, what is it that the other person is doing. So you need some space, correct? So like that example I'm giving to deal with these to deal with the binding desires. So the binding desires is what tethers the mind constantly and distracts it away from the study of the Upanishad, because one is constantly thinking about everything else. And here desire is not just Vishaya, doesn't mean object. Vishinoti badhnati iti vishayaha, anything that binds. It could be preoccupation about people, it could be preoccupation about things, it could be preoccupation about the future, it could be preoccupation about the past, it could be preoccupation about things. It's the whole thing. All this is included in the word vishayaha, because the definition of vishayaha is that which binds. So we can't just gloss over and say sense objects. And people will say, well, but I'm not that attracted to ice cream or whatever, but then what are you screaming about? I'm stuck in the past. That is also a vishaya in that sense, because it's a preoccupation. So you watch these preoccupations and these hang-ups, before you were hanging out with the hang-ups, now you watch the hang-ups, set over the horizon of your witnessing. You are the witness, and over that horizon you watch your association with those preoccupations, set. It is like the sunset is not a violent act, it's very pleasing, very calm, and it just naturally, it's a natural outcome of the day. So here also, it's a natural outcome of a process of emotional growth. That's what it is. So when that emotional growth happens, contingent upon that emotional growth is the setting of the sun of preoccupations with things, people, objects, events, circumstances, etc., etc. That is what the whole thing is. So nirasta vishaya sangam. Understood? Yeah, say yes. Yeah, even if you didn't understand, because it will be explained later. Nirasta Vishaya Sangam. So it's all this, we read these two, 4 and 5 together because they are connected. Then what happens? Nirasta Vishaya Sangam. This Nirasta is connected to another event. What is that? Sanniruddham. Rudh, to stop. Ni nishchayena samyak. So nicely stopping, arresting. Arresting what? Manaha. arresting the mind. Oh, I have to put it in ball and chains? Yes. Arresting the mind from where? From its, arresting the mind from running after the preoccupations. Sanniruddham. And it's a two-part arresting. First, you arrest the mind from dwelling incessantly on the preoccupations. Sanniruddham. You show it a stop sign. Stop. Oh, okay. Now what? And this is where, is a big departure from Buddhism and Vedanta. For Buddhism, this is what it is. Stop. Sanniruddham. Finished. Sanniruddham means stop the manaha sanniruddhva, having stopped the mind, that's it. And then you keep watching the mind so that it doesn't go back. Watch the mind, watch the mind, watch the mind, like you watch the dog. Watch it, okay, you're still here, okay, you're doing fine, okay. You haven't strayed, you watch it, you watch it, you watch it, you watch. And then, watch what happens. And what is the answer? That is not meditation according to us. That's just watching the mind and is just one step for us in getting to know more closely the meditator, the one who is gifted with a mind. Watching the mind is not meditation. It's a step. It's an important step because you understand that you are the boss of the mind and that the mind is mostly never mind and the mind is there at your behest. It is a jewel, it's a gem for you. You are not under its spell. So therefore, watch the mind means that's what it helps. Watching the mind is coming closer to objectifying all the things that we take for granted and then, seeing the self-evident subject as the truth of oneself. So that's why here there is no niruddhi after sanniruddham manaha. The next step is pointed out, sanniruddham manaha. After arresting the mind, what do? You lead it to rest. First you arrest and then you lead it to rest. Where? Hridi. Where is Hridi? Here. This is Hridi. The seat of the I. Who did this? Nobody says I did this. Or I did this. Or I did this. Nobody says that. What do you say? I did this. That was me. This is universal. This is not just India and some, in some other place. In Uzbekistan, they point to the foot. I did this. No. Everywhere, it is a universal thing. Who did that? Where are you? I'm right here. I'm here. I'll take care of that. Don't worry, I'm here. This I always goes here. The hand always goes to the heart. So, that is all coming from the Upanishad itself. Manaha sanniruddhva, hridi, what is, you place the mind in the heart. This is very abstract and flowery. How to it's rather difficult to know how to place the mind and how to place it in the heart. What is going on over here? How to place it in the heart? Where is what is that? First of all, we had a nice discussion. Where is the mind? And we tried to do a dissection in the class, and the mind was not produced because it is not, it's a subtle thing. It's not an object or an organ, whereas the heart is what? Organ. So, sanniruddham manohridi. Do I put it in the heart? No. Here, the figurative heart, the emotional heart, the spiritual heart, and the heart as a seat, the heart of the matter, which is you, and the heart as a seat for that consciousness which I am trying to understand the truth of and understand myself as, that is the heart. It's not a literal heart, but it's the resting place of the mind is with the truth of myself. That is where the mind belongs, because that's where the mind emerges from. That consciousness is what is sustains the mind, and unto that consciousness the mind resolves when? I think you're already in that state. That's why you cannot answer. In sleep. So, in sleep, what happens? The mind resolves into that, correct? Because that I am sleeping is, you're not aware of it. You're vaguely aware of it, but not quite aware of it. I am asleep is only coming, only after the Vedanta class you realize. I was asleep, right? Yeah. So you don't realize when you're sleeping that you are sleeping. And so therefore, this whole thing is, very important to know. Sanniruddham mano hridi means that the resting place of the the mind, is in that I. What is that I? That not so much the I notion, but the I itself, the content of the I notion. Because the I notion is cognized by the mind in the form of an I thought. But when that I thought goes, what remains is the I. Oh, I think we'll just take your word for it. That's good enough for now. Because when that I thought goes, what remains is the I. But how do you know what remains is the I? Because if you don't think, are you there or not? Just think about that. Stop thinking now. Sanniruddham. Okay? Stop thinking right now. No thought, no thought, no thought. Is that a thought? Okay, let's not complicate it. But if you stop thinking, okay? You stop thinking, what is there? Are you there or not? Why is it taking so long to say that? Yeah. Why is it taking so long to cognize that is self-evident? That is not your problem. That was Descartes' problem. Because he put Descartes before Deshorse. That is what happened. That is what happened. Yeah. Because he said, I think, therefore I am. Hello Descartes, you want some sugar in your coffee? No, I don't think so. Does he stop existing when he says, no, I don't think? No, he is still there. Whether he thinks or not, he is still there, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So the I thought, I am, even though it appears to be filtered through a thought, but I is not a product of the thought. Because when that I thought also resolves, in rare moments of clarity, when the I thought resolves, in meditation, when that I thought resolves, what obtains is the I, which is not a product of the thought. Then you understand, oh, I had this backward. I thought I was dependent on the I thought. But now I know that the I thought is dependent upon me, because that I thought is the product of the mind. So you can watch yourself having the I thought, you see. So that which is watching, that which is aware, that which is witnessing here is the resting place of the I thought, is also the resting place of the I. So that's where the mind belongs. Interestingly, we find the same thing in Ayurvedic and ancient Chinese medicine. You go to an Ayurvedic practitioner and the traditional ones, they will take your pulse and they'll make some clucking noises. What happened? Well, why are you making these noises? They won't say anything, but then you are of course intrigued and you say, what happened? Well, the mind is not falling into the heart. One person said that. I've taken somebody and they checked the pulse and said the mind is not falling into the heart. Very interesting, because this is what the Upanishad said. And then, I was discussing the same thing with a Chinese practitioner. And, she said that in Chinese medicine, the resting place of the mind is in the heart. Otherwise, it's an untethered mind. The mind has to be tethered gently to rest in the heart. Very interesting. So, on this is also dependent, apparently, the physical well-being, because the mind and the body are linked. Even though most of the time we pretend they are not, but they are really truly connected, because the change in one influences the well-being of the other. So if the mind is all over the place, Vishaya Saktihi, running after the association and preoccupation with things, objects, people, circumstances, what events, past, present, future, wherever. If the mind is all over the place, then there is a sense of disconnection, and it impacts the health of the body, not just for 5 minutes or 2 minutes if one dissociates, but if this dissociation and this sense of alienation is there for a prolonged time, it also has an impact on the health. So this is a very important shloka for all kinds of, not just for mumukshus, even though that we saw last time that this is advice given to the mumukshu to have the manah karyam nirasaktam manah karyam mumukshuna. We saw that by the mumukshu the mind has to be made not going after the not having the pressure to run after these things and have that association. So we saw that this is a special directive to the mumukshu, but in addition to being a special directive to the mumukshu, it appears to be a wonderful advice for a well-being of the body-mind complex, because the body-mind-sense complex is one whole. So here the resting place of the mind is in the heart. The heart literally means the heart of the matter, the vastu. But what is this vastu? How can I place the mind there? The mind is naturally there, okay? Yeah. If it is not up to its own shenanigans, it is there. You don't have to take it and then walk it, or take it in a little wheelbarrow and then put it in the, or lock it up in the heart. There is no such thing. It is effortless because it is you. And again, there is a dependent contingency. The contingency is when the orb of the pressures exerted by the desires, when in the glowing orb of the association with the desires, when that sets, and when I witness it setting, the mind naturally stays with itself. Itself means with the I. And that I is, what is that? That I is not not dependent on the mind. The I is Sat, the mind is what is called Mithya. Mithya means it is dependent upon the Sat, like even the pot depends upon the clay for its existence. The pot, we say pot, but from the standpoint of Vedanta, I am holding clay. Pot is totally dependent on clay. If I smell the pot, what I smell is not the pot smell, it's the clay smell. If I smell a brass pot, then that metallic smell is not belonging to the pot, it is belonging to the substance, which is brass or copper. And this is the smell of the earth, the clay. And the weight is the weight of clay. Color is also clay, but not in this case. In this case, the color is not of clay. You just have to scrape it, that's all. You just scrape it. Oh, okay, we won't scrape it, yes. Just figuratively scrape it, and this fellow will also just look like this fellow. This fellow thinks I'm blue-blooded, and I'm a royal pot. Yeah, very royal pot, come from aristopot. Yes, aristopot, and this is a common pot, Janata pot, and aristopot. We can't be friends. I'm at a higher level. Janata pot says I can swallow you whole. What are you talking about? You are gone. You can make all kinds of rattling sounds, but that also will stop because you're stuck in me, So like this, from the standpoint of the pot, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. From the standpoint of clay, all there is clay. You see, that is what here, it is called Satyam. That is what Shvetaketu was taught. And that is probably the only instance in the Upanishads where the teaching was given without first asking for it. Very interesting. Because usually you have to go to the teacher, Adhihi Bhagavo Brahma, please teach me Brahman, pretty please, here are some sticks for your yajna, and let me stay here and let me study. This is what the whole thing is. But since the father is the teacher here, the father takes matters into his own hands. Because this fellow comes back from the, Gurukula. He went when he was 12, he was sent, and returned after 12 years. And then what? Came back and then was insufferably proud of his prowess. The Upanishad uses the word anuchana mani. Manitvam means atmani pujyatva bhava. Meaning I should be worshipped. That kind of a feeling. I am worshipable. But aren't we all Brahman, and Brahman is worshipable? We are not talking at that level here. I should be worshipable. I am really worshipable, and one starts to demand respect. One starts to demand respect all the time. You can't demand respect. You can command respect, and that happens naturally. That means people respect you for who you are. You can't demand that, okay, you have to do this. You have to do this, you have to do that because of my stature. You saw what happened to Aristopot when it had too much whatever. Now it's refusing to. It's so ashamed, it's refusing to even come out. There it is, yeah. So you saw what happened to the Aristopot. And so Shvetaketu was the head of his class. And he was just all, everything. He was one with himself, in an ahankara way, egotistical way, and he was not concerned about anything else, anybody else. And he came back refusing to greet his parents properly and wearing all kinds of, insignia of modernity. You should hear Pujya Swamiji talk about it. It used to be wonderful. He would say he had one earring and, the shirt which had buttons but which were never buttoned, a gold chain, and one leg up and one leg down in the jeans, more holes than jeans, holy jeans, and then, it's just like a wild seed. This is education. The mother and the father were just horrified. And they said, did you ask for that knowledge, knowing which all this is as good as known? And you know what he said? First he said, my teachers must not have known it because I was the first and the best. And if they had known it, of course they would have taught Shvetu. Who else would they have taught? And the father asks again, and then he comes down a few rungs. And then he says, is there such a knowledge? So in a way he asks for it, but then the father puts the seed of the desire for the knowledge in his head. And that's when he says, this whole world that you see of name and forms, and this is a very important teaching, because the world of name and forms is reproduced in the mind. That's all it is. So the world is really that which is reproduced here. It's as good as that which is reproduced in between the temples. This is where the Jagat, the resting place of the Jagat is here, and the resting place of the mind is here. You see? And so therefore, the whole world that you see is not the world, it is called Sat. All that is here, let us say it is Sat. Oh, just one Sat? Just one Sat. Oh, half Sat? No. Advitiyam. One Sat, Ekam, Advitiyam, non-dually one, unfragmentably one. Ekam Sat, that there was only this Sat. When Srishtehe Prak, before all this came into being, all that was there was Sat. And then he gives this example of the aristopot. And he says, Ekena mritpindena sarvam mrinmayam vijñātam bhavati. If you just know one lump of clay, the whole earthenware shop, you know the contents. The whole world of earthenware is as good as known. And what is this whole world of earthenware? Vacharambanam vikaro namadheyam. It is just dependent on speech. Because one you call aristopot, one you call some other pot, one you call flower pot, and then another one you call some other kind of pot. Then maybe it's not a pot, it's a lid. Sharava. Sharava means it's like a, what is that? Like a beaker. They used to serve soma juice in that, some kind of a wine, sharava, and then there was some, shallow pots, lids, trays, all this. So when you say tray, lid, maybe there's a clay figurine, pot, beaker, flask, all these are what? Dependent on speech. Vachalambanam, vak arambanam, they begin with speech, they go back into resolve into speech, even as the content of the pot resolves into clay. So in fact there are two resolutions taking place, really speaking, it's very interesting. So the world of names is resolving into one word, Sat, and all the forms are resolving also into that Sat. So the world of names is resolving into speech, and then all the forms are resolving into Sat. Then speech is really nothing other than Sat. It's a manifestation of Sat. So before all this came into being, what was there? Sad alone was there. Sadeva asit. Oh, it was there, and now it is not. No, now also it is there. Was there means it was there before creation, before the manifestation. That's what. That was, that doesn't mean Sat was. No. Sat is, but it was there before all this came into being as well. The word Sat means is, okay, yeah. So you cannot say is was. Yeah. Is was a long time ago. Is was, we are talking of the is that never was. That never, I should qualify. We are talking of the is that never was. Got it? Yeah, this everyone understood. I'm glad. We are talking of the is that was always is. But isn't that grammatically wrong? Yes, it is grammatically wrong. We are not talking of grammar. We are talking of what is. So the is that never was. It was never in the past tense. The is that was always is. It was is then, it is now, it is later. Trikale pitisthati iti sat. Sat is that which does not change in time. Doesn't change. So sat, 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 sat. And then now what happened? Now all the things that are there are just dependent on my speech and my vision, because, I have to cognize them as part, etc. And then all of them are really speaking Sat. Tat Sat, that Sat, Sa Atma Tvamasi Shvetaketo. It is his thought. And he gives one more example, gold and ornament. The ornament is nothing but gold. Gold is not ornament. The isness of the ornament is gold. The isness of the pot is clay. And this is, so in relation to the clay, the pot is the reality of the pot is called mithya, because mithya doesn't mean illusion or delusion. Mithya doesn't mean false. Mithya means a dependent reality that cannot be categorized as real and cannot be dismissed as unreal. So you cannot dismiss the pot, you know. You can, it will get very upset if you say you don't exist. You know, why do you think I colored myself blue, you know? Now I have the blues. First I was just blue, now I have the blues. You will get very upset. You cannot say you don't exist. Then what are you seeing? No, all this is delusion. What delusion? What illusion? It is there. You know, that's not magic. To say it is dismissed, to say it is clay, that is how you don't dismiss it, you transcend it by going to its source. So that is what it is. So it's neither dismissed, but can you affirm it and say the truth of the aristopot is aristopot? No, you cannot. And so therefore, it can be neither affirmed nor dismissed. And that is the state of the whole Jagat. And the whole Jagat is nothing but Vishayaha. That's why we are talking about it. So that's why it's not about dismissing the Vishayas or pretending that they don't exist, but seeing the truth of the Vishayas in the light of this teaching and allowing the mind to be unhitched, disconnected from that constant longing to be associated with them. And that longing is there because of ignorance. This also is there. The longing is there because of self-ignorance. That self-ignorance makes one go after objects, people, situation, things, because that is seen as a puraka. What is puraka? A filler. Literally it means filler. Yeah. Filler. What is a filler? You know, anything that fills one up temporarily. Puraka. Why? Because I am apurna. That's the feeling. I'm not sampurna, I'm apurna. I am incomplete. And that's why there is this thing that me plus this. Me plus this. I'm limited, I'm incomplete. So limited plus limited will perhaps produce unlimited. Limited plus limited? Doubly limited. Yes. So first there is aham. Aham means I, limited. And then what? Aham plus aham. Avam. That's why the dual word, is there in Sanskrit. Avam, we both, doubly limited. Then vayam, children come. And then quadruply limited. Yeah. Unlimitedly limited. Limitlessly limited. Oh, at least you brought in the word limitless. Thank God. Even if I'm limitlessly limited, I'm at least, limitlessly limited. Yeah, that you cannot take away. I won't take away. Have it. So, this is the whole thing. Very fascinating. So, this, all the things in the world become purakas. They complete me, or so the mind thinks. So I think. And then for these reasons, one makes a series of bad decisions from birth itself. Yeah. Birth itself is a bad decision, but unfortunately that decision was already made earlier. Yeah. Many happy returns. Very bad wish. Yeah, so this, so this is what the whole thing is. And therefore, you have to, what is that? Reboot this whole thing. That the desire for Purnatvam you have to look for when you are thinking of when one is thinking of oneself as a Purna. So the desire for Purnatvam has to be discerned, because otherwise one will keep running after finite objects infinitely. An infinite hoarder keeps on hoarding a series of finite objects, situations, peoples, things, thoughts, etc., thinking that one is adding it up to infinity. So if I feel incomplete, What is the tendency? The tendency is to run around and get things to complete myself. And that there is a pull there. And also, what makes it right is because everybody is doing it. Not just me. Look at the neighbor on this side, look at them that side, look at the Jones. Look at this one, look at that. So you have to keep up with everybody. Just because everybody is doing it doesn't make it right. No, but what will people think if I stop running after objects? Let them all become Vedantins. Let them think anything. Who cares? No, we have to live in society. Don't live in society. No, but how will not live in society? Okay, live in society and don't. No, but I feel bad. Well, you have to decide. This is, on the precipice. You can't be on the precipice. You have to decide. You cannot permanently, be impermanent. This is the feeling. No, but you said I'm not impermanent. Yes, this has to be discerned. Otherwise, see, the longing is because I feel incomplete. That incompleteness is the cause of longing, and the cause of incompleteness is not knowing I'm the most complete thing there is. In fact, there is nothing other than me. And that me is already whole, complete, limitless, free. So not knowing that is self-ignorance. Not knowing that self-ignorance has an offspring called apurnata. Yes. I am incomplete. And that apurnata goads you like one that like this huge animal, like an elephant. The elephant is goaded by that mahout. Mahout means the one who directs the elephant here and there. And this huge elephant, that small little goad, it responds and goes and picks up the log, and then it goes to the other side and then drops the log. All these, that's how they train the elephant to do all kinds of jobs. And so too this mind is under the spell of this goading of apurnata. I am incomplete. Oh, okay, what should I do? Oh, pick up that. Oh, bring it here. Give that. Maybe then people will love you. Oh, they still don't love you. Oh, that's too bad. Let's see what other activities we can do. And this is how one falls into the spell of Vishaya Saktihi. And Vishaya doesn't mean just objects, activities, preoccupations, everything. And so therefore, Nirasta Vishaya Sangam. So now you see the connection. When that Vishaya Sakti is gone, then what happens? The mind has nothing to do. Why? Because the mind is finally at rest, because it is not quartering itself, going here, going there, and trying to find completion in an infinitely incomplete canvas called the Jagat. In the not I, you can never find that limitless I. Not I is also I, but then I is not, I is not I, not I. That's the thing. We have to understand that. That we'll be explaining later. But for now, not I resolves into I doesn't resolve into not I. So anatma, the anatma vishayas that are there, what we have to see is that proclivity towards going, being attracted to infinitely, to finite things, that is called Vishaya Sakti. And when that is not there, the mind naturally rests, because the mind is tired actually. Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of vrittis, thoughts, desires, incompleteness. So it learns to rest, and the place where it rests, it's not a location, it's the all-pervasive I. That place is not a place. So the heart is not a place. Even though the locative is used, the location, locator, we don't have that kind of a connection, because all we are talking of one thing. And that one thing cannot have a location, because if it had a location, then that other thing has to be accounted for. Ashrita and Ashraya, then the two things come. And you cannot say Advayam. What is there? Advaita Hanihi, the loss of non-duality, argument-wise. And so therefore, you cannot say two things. There's only one thing, and that one thing is you. So mano hridi, nikshepayet, all these whatever, keep the mind in the, keep the mind in the heart, has to be read figuratively. So the first arrest the mind, and then the mind will naturally find a resting place, in the source, which is the resting place of everything that is mithya. Mind is mithya, therefore it will also come to rest, because it will not be frittered around, tiring itself, running after all kinds of situations. That is the idea. And then what? Yada, when yati means goes, ayati, there are two avagrahas are there, yes, not goes, comes. Yada ayati atmano bhavam tada tat paramam padam. So nirasta vishaya sangam. So here three conditions are given. Nirasta, this yada has to also go up, because the three conditions have to be seen. Yada nirasta vishaya sangam, yada sanniruddham mano hridi, yada ayati atmano bhavam, tada tat paramam padam. So there are three conditions given. The first condition is what we talked about. Let the mind, which is preoccupied with associating with various objects, come back to itself. And that resting place in the source of the I, let that happen, number one. And when that happens, something else also has to happen. Ayati atmano bhavam, again a vague directive. Atmano bhavam is one's own nature. Ayati comes back to one's own nature. Slightly vague, meaning where was I if I was not with my nature? That's the whole idea. You were elsewhere. You were focused on the not I. Because as long as anatma is there, there means what? Is there in your if you are preoccupied with anatma, atma will just defer and say, I'll wait till you have a better time, When there is a better time, come contact me. Yeah, atma is like that. Atma doesn't compete with anything. Even anatma, because anatma is atma. Atma knows. No, but I don't know, doesn't matter. Too bad, better luck, next life. That's what atma will say. So atma doesn't compete. Atma is not opposed to anything, because all that is there is atma. Atma means I. So what is this atmano bhavam? Atmano bhavam is not an experience. And this has been wrongly read by all the yoga people who say that with the cessation of the thoughts rises the I nature. Like even the butter rises from the milk after the churning, and this is a wrong understanding. The cessation of thought. Stop thinking, stop thinking, stop thinking, stop thinking, stop thinking, stop thinking. Is that a thought? Stop thinking that also. Oh, then what will happen? Then you are in samadhi. Where there is no dhi, that is called samadhi. Dhi is short for buddhi. Now, no dhi means samadhi. And then what? And then in that meditation, the Atma, like a disco ball, comes, drops, and you see white light, some people say yellow light, and then what? Blue light, Amrtabindu Upanishad. People do like this. This is what they say. This is how this verse has been interpreted. But we have to be true to the tradition. We have to be true to the tradition which has produced saints like Adi Shankara and Gaudapadacharya and all the whole lineage. And you can't just read whatever you feel like. And so therefore you have to be true to, how you read the other Upanishads, this is also an Upanishad, correct? So how you read the other Upanishads, the same way you have to be reading this also. You cannot have different rules. There Tattvamasi applies. Here, Atma is going to drop like the ball on New Year's Day, in the timeless square of the mind. Crazy. You can't go there. That's not fair. Because this is an Upanishad, and the same rules with which you read the Upanishads and you understand them, the same rules are also applicable here. So, Atmano Bhavam Yada Ayati, when the person comes to, the one's own nature, it's not an event. It's not something that happens as a result of meditation. Because this is going to be Etad Jnanam Cha Dhyanam Cha. The last line of the 5th verse is cautioning us to look at it solely as meditation. A practice is there, but it is in service of jnanam, knowledge. It is cautioning us in the last line. We haven't got there, but I am giving a preview. A preview of what is going to come tomorrow early morning. Yeah. So I'm giving a preview. So this is what it says. It doesn't say etad dhyanam cha. No. Etad jnanam cha. This is knowledge. And in service of this knowledge, a little bit of meditation if you do to prepare the mind, no problem. We encourage it. Absolutely. And so, yada ayati atmano bhavam must not be translated as when you have an experience of the Atma, because the Atma is always ever experienced, and it is experience swarupa. Its nature is that of experience alone. It doesn't have anything. It is always experienced. When is the Atma not experienced really? So etad jnanam cha dhyanam cha, it is not something that obtains. Ayati doesn't mean obtains or gains. Ayati means is finally repatriated with oneself, with the nature of oneself. We'll pick this up tomorrow. So then when all these conditions are fulfilled, what happens? We will see that tomorrow. Now what do we have? Meditation. Yeah. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Yeah, light.